Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtu Tarshakta Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtu Tarshakta Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Kali Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 84, texts 14 and 15. Chiram Vimishya Munaya Ishvarasye Shitavyatam Janna Sangraha Ityuchu Smayantastam Jagadgurum Chiram Vimrishya Munaya Ishvarasyeshitavyatam Jana Sangraha Ityuchu Smayantastam Jagadgurum Chiram Vimrish Yamunaya Ishvarasyeshitavyatam Jana Sangraha Ityuchu Smayantastam Jagadgurum. Marishya Munaya Matajis. Anyone else? Chiram, for some time. Vimrishya, thinking. Munayaha, the sages. Ishvarasya, of the Supreme Controller. Ishitavyatam, the status of being controlled. Jana Sangraha, the enlightenment of the people in general. Iti, thus concluding. Uchuhu, they said. Smayantaha, smiling. Tam, to him. Jagat, of the universe. Gurum, the spiritual master. Translation. For some time, the sages pondered the Supreme Lord's behavior, which resembled that of a subordinate living being. They concluded that he was acting this way to instruct the people in general. Thus they smiled and spoke to him, the spiritual master of the universe. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains the word ishitavyata as referring to one's not being a controller, or in other words, to being under the law of karma. obliged to work and experience the results of one's work. While addressing the sages, Lord Krishna accepted the role of a subordinate living being to emphasize the importance of hearing and serving saintly Vaishnavas. The personality of Godhead is also the supreme teacher of spiritual surrender. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we have to read the previous verse too. And I'd like to speak a little something on both of them. So text 14, translation, Shukadev Goswami said, hearing such unfathomable words from the unlimitedly wise Lord Krishna, the learned Brahmanas remained silent, their minds bewildered. And then again today's, for some time the sages pondered the Supreme Lord's behavior, which resembled that of a subordinate living being. They concluded that he was acting this way to instruct the people in general. Thus they smiled and spoke to him, the spiritual master of the universe. So in text 14, it says, Nishamyetam Bhagavata Krishnasya Kuntamedhasaha Vacho Duranvayam Vipras Tushnim Asan Brahmadhya. The Vipras, or the learned Brahmanas, the sages, they became silent, tushnim, they became completely silent. Why? Because their minds were bewildered, brahmadhya. Their minds were unsteady or bewildered. And they didn't know what to say, they didn't know what to do next. They were stunned, actually. Why were they stunned? Why were their minds bewildered? Because they had heard these words from Lord Krishna. It says, Nishamya etam. After hearing these unfathomable words. Duranvayam means difficult to comprehend. They couldn't actually understand what Krishna was saying. And also, Krishna he's called Akunta Medasa, whose wisdom is unrestricted or unlimited. So they heard, they heard these words from Bhagavata, this verse has a few different things. Bhagavata means the Supreme Person, and Krishnasya, from Krishna, and Akunta Medasa, whose wisdom is unrestricted. So they heard these words in the previous verses, which we can also maybe read through once more, where we've been hearing it the last few days, Krishna's words. Now let's go through it quickly. This is starting in text 9. The Supreme Lord said, "Now our lives are indeed successful, for we have obtained life's ultimate goal, the audience of great yoga masters, which even demigods only rarely obtain." Text 10, "How is it that people who are not very austere and who recognize God only in his deity form in the temple can now see you, touch you, inquire from you, bow down to you, worship your feet, and serve you in other ways? Mere bodies of water are not the real sacred places of pilgrimage, nor are mere images of earth and stone the true worshipable deities. These purify one only after a long time, but saintly sages purify one immediately upon being seen. Neither the demigods controlling fire, the sun, the moon, the stars, nor those in charge of earth, water, ether, air, speech, and mind actually remove the sins of their worshippers, who continue to see in terms of dualities. But wise sages destroy one's sins when respectfully served for even a few moments. One who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. Such a person is no better than a cow or an ass." So those were the 5 shlokas that Krishna spoke to the sages upon their arrival to the assembly that was congregated at Samanta Panchaka. And here we can see Krishna is he's saying, now our lives are indeed successful, for we have attained the life's ultimate goal, the audience of great yoga masters. So Krishna's speaking in the first person, actually. He's saying, my life's successful now. And so when these sages were greeted like this by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they couldn't understand what was going on. They were bewildered. Brahmadhya, their minds became unsteady, because they thought they were going to see Krishna. As indicated in this verse, Bhagavata and Krishnasya Akunta Medasa. Krishna's wisdom is unlimited. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Bhagavan. Bhagavan means that he's full in all opulences. Those 6 opulences are strength, fame, beauty, renunciation, wealth, and intelligence, knowledge. So Krishna is infinitely full in knowledge. He's infinitely full in everything. So this verse is interesting, text 14, because they're saying, Shukadeva Goswami is saying that they're bewildered because of this, that the infinitely opulent Supreme Lord has just spoken these words, and now their minds are bewildered because it's such a, they don't understand what's going on. They think, it's as if, they thought they were coming, they're only used to, the list of the sages was given actually, who was there. Narada, Dwaipayana, Chyavana, Devala, Asita, Vishvamitra, Shatananda, Bharadwaj, and Gautama. Parashuram, his disciples, Vashishta, Galava, Brigu, Pulastya, and Kashyapa, Atri, Markandeya, Brihaspati, Twita, Trita, Ekata, 4 Kumaras, Angira, Agastya, Yagyavalkya, and Vamadev. So some of these are obviously devotees, pure devotees, Narada, Vyasadeva, and others. But I don't think all of them are, pure bhaktas. I think some of them are, at least we would say, Gyan Mishra bhaktas. And so their worship of the Lord, their approach to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is not one of pure devotion, actually. There's some Gyan mixed in there. There's some different understanding. So they might be worshiping Krishna as the Supreme Brahman, the all-pervading, supreme spiritual spirit, so to speak, or the localized aspects such as Paramatma. Some are used to Krishna in his opulent feature as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Shirshashayi Vishnu, the Purusha Sukta. Some of these beings in the higher planets, that's how they worship the Lord, chanting these Vedic hymns to worship his being the all-pervading creator of the universe, essentially. And so here, that same person is greeting them in such a way as if he's just an ordinary, earthling, an ordinary human king or prince, and they're completely bewildered. They have to take a double take. They look at each other and say, "Wait a minute, did we get the right person? This is him, right?" They're confused. They're totally bewildered. And then in text 15, they say that after thinking for some time, they concluded that this is him. Yep, this is him. But he's just doing this for the benefit of the people in general, setting the example. And then they smiled and spoke some other instructions and teachings in response. And so, Krishna does everything perfectly. For instance, if we get angry, our faces get a little red, our faces get contorted, we feel a lot of uncomfortable sensations in the body. We might punch a wall, like this and that. But we might speak loudly. But when Krishna gets angry, he takes a whole other form. Lord Nrsimhadev, right? Half man, half lion. He takes a whole other form. He had a whole, there's unlimited pastimes that happen. There's unlimited devotees. There's a whole planet that's created. This is Krishna. When he gets angry, there's a whole form, lila, guna, everything, names, everything comes. But so similarly, when he's taking the role of an ordinary human being, he does that part better than any actor could. He does that part so well that only those who know. We think sometimes, well, how is it that Duryodhana or some of these characters in the Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam, how could they, Jarasandha, how could they treat Krishna like this? Isn't it obvious, like, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? They're seeing him, they're even touching him. They can't understand. But that's because Krishna's yoga maya potency. There's that verse in the Bhagavad Gita. How does that start? Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha? I don't remember the last two padas, but essentially that verse in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is saying that Krishna is unknown because he covers himself with his yoga maya potency. So he doesn't reveal himself to everyone, only with those with devotion. And so Krishna can put on a disguise, in other words. Krishna can certainly, and this is a big subject matter in Queen Kunti's prayers in the 8th chapter of the 1st canto. she speaks about Krishna's appearing like a human, but he's not, and how this is bewildering to her, she says. She's talking about how Krishna is getting chased by Mother Yashoda, and chased with a stick, and tears are coming from his eyes, and she's, I guess, heard of this pastime or sees it in her heart or something, and she said this is totally bewildering, because she knows, she's aware of Krishna's godhood, and so she thinks, this, how can that be, how can that be, someone you're worshiping is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't understand that mood. They don't understand that further aspect of Krishna's personality. So then when they see that, they don't understand it. And it takes some thought, it takes some guidance to understand, actually, for all of us, that is not mundane. Krishna is not part of this mundane. He is not an ordinary human being. He's just playing that part. Anyhow, they heard these words, these sages, and their minds were bewildered. And I wanted to talk about this phrase, vacho duranvayam, that after hearing those unfathomable words which were difficult to comprehend, the learned brahmanas remained silent, their minds bewildered. I thought that was a really interesting word, and it made me think of another instance in the Bhagavatam, in the 3rd canto, where something similar happens. This is 3rd canto, chapter 16, which is entitled Jai and Vijay are cursed. The 4 Kumaras curse the doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay. And text 14. So I'm going to read this text in purport, because it goes hand in hand. It's a parallel to what we're hearing now. So so actually, just a little background. Jai and Vijay didn't let the 4 Kumaras come into Vaikuntha because they were little boys and they were also unclothed, so they said, no, they can't come in. 4 Kumaras got angry and cursed them. So then Lord Vishnu comes up on the scene, and he starts glorifying the 4 Kumaras and apologizing. He says that, these doorkeepers are like, they're my limbs, and one of my limbs has offended you, so I should lop off my own arm. And he glorifies the quality of being a brahmana, and it's really beautiful, a few verses that Lord Vishnu speaks, really amazing verses, just like Krishna is speaking here to the sages. And then the same thing happens. So this is the next verse after Lord Krishna's speaking, or Lord Vishnu speaking, in text 14. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. So again, we got that word, difficult to comprehend. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. Purport. It should be understood that no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. There is no difference between the Supreme Person and his speeches, for he stands on the absolute platform. The sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord, but although his speech was very concise and meaningful, the sages could not completely comprehend what he was saying. They could not even comprehend the purport of the speech or what the Supreme Lord wanted to do, nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. So again, we have this instance where the 4 Kumaras were completely bewildered after hearing Vishnu speak to them. His words here are described as difficult to comprehend, which is translated in text 14 of this chapter as unfathomable. And also it's translated here in the third canto, because Prabhupada writes, they were difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import. What does that mean? A momentous import. An import means not to bring goods into a country, but rather the implicit meaning or significance of something. So the implicit meaning, it's momentous. The meaning of what Vishnu was saying was grand. It was awe-inspiring. It's like when you look at the Grand Canyon, or you go to whatever, some big waterfall, or you go to the Pacific Ocean. It's grand. You can't help but feel like, wow, that's amazing. So similarly, the import was momentous. The meaning was, and then it says that these words had the most profound significance, and the sages could not understand what he meant. They could not actually understand what Vishnu meant. And they had to do a double take. They were like, they couldn't understand, is he angry with us or is he angry with them? Because Krishna's words are actually described as having volumes of meaning. Krishna can say one thing and there could be infinite meaning in one word. Krishna might use one word and it could have infinite meaning. Thus, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's so many layers of Krishna's words. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's words. So I'd like to read something from Nectar Devotion very shortly. A quality of Krishna's. This is in chapter 21 of Nectar Devotion, where the qualities of Krishna, the 64 qualities, are listed and summarized. And Krishna's, the 10th quality is called fluent. Krishna is fluent. Fluent means, as Prabhupada writes, a person who can speak meaningful words and with all politeness and good qualities is called Vavaduk, or fluent. And Prabhupada goes on to write, Krishna's speeches, which contain all good qualities in the universe, are described in the following statement by Uddhava. So now this is Uddhava talking about Krishna's words. The words of Krishna are so attractive that they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. His words can immediately solve all of the questions and problems of the world. Although he does not speak very long, each and every word from his mouth contains volumes of meaning. These speeches of Krishna are very pleasing to my heart. That's very beautiful. I really like that a lot. Do you like that? Okay, good. Yeah, it sounds amazing. Krishna's speeches. And it just also brings up, you really need to, the whole aspect of devotion. Because I didn't, when I've read Bhagavad Gita, I'm reading Krishna's, I didn't get that same feeling as Uddhava is conveying in his glorification of Krishna. So anyway, it's just nice to hear from Krishna's devotees how important that is. So yeah, Krishna's words have volumes of meaning. So here the sages in today's verses, they're bewildered because they don't exactly understand, is this Krishna? Did we get it wrong? Or no, this is Krishna, but why is he glorifying us? And is he trying to just set an example, or does he actually mean it? Are we offenders now? Is this actually? They're completely bewildered. They have to be silent and think about it. And these are great sages. These are the as Krishna says himself, these are the great yoga masters of the universe. So these are the greatest people in the universe, basically. There's no one like the people here, Narada, Vyas, Vishvamitra. These are above demigods, actually. These are great rishis and sages that are on higher planets than just Swargaloka. And they didn't understand. They had to stop and think, what's going on here? And I have a few other references I kind of picked out that I wanted to also show. So in the 35th chapter of the 10th canto, there's a similar instance that happened. This is the chapter where the gopis are describing Krishna's flute and just Krishna's pastimes in general. It's not chapter 21, which is the Venu Gita, but this is chapter 35. So here the gopis are expressing all of Krishna's wonderful qualities, and they speak this verse. O pious Mother Yashoda, your son, who is expert in all the arts of herding cows, has invented many new styles of flute playing. When he takes his flute to his bimba-red lips and sends forth the tones of the harmonic scale in variegated melodies, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and other chief demigods become confused upon hearing the sound. Although they are the most learned authorities, they cannot ascertain the essence of that music, and thus they bow down their heads and hearts. Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, among the demigods led by Shukra, Lord Indra, were Upendra, Agni, and Yamaraj. Among those led by Sharva, Lord Shiva, were Katyayani, Skanda, and Ganesh. And among those led by Parameshti, Lord Brahma, were the four Kumaras and Narada. Thus, the best collective intelligence in the universe could not definitively analyze the enchanting musical arrangements of the Supreme Lord. So there's just another instance of the leaders of the universe hearing Krishna's flute, in this instance, and completely bewildered them. They became confused. They didn't understand what was going on. They've never heard that sound before. It was spiritual. It was transcendental. This was something else. This was something else. And these are we don't even understand what that is, because, I mean, the music, Gandharva Veda, if you look into Indian classical music, it gets a little more complicated. I took a class in college once, just for fun, and it's really complicated stuff compared to Western music. I mean, it's interesting. And so, I mean, that's nothing compared to what's going on Brahma Loka, Lord Brahma. His knowledge of music. What to speak of Lord Shiva, Lord Indra. So they heard this and were completely flabbergasted. And so again, here we're talking about the speech, the words of Lord Krishna. There was so much meaning in them. It was difficult to comprehend. It was beyond the purview of our material intelligence. What to speak of ours? It was beyond the purview of great sages and the most exalted people in the universe. And an interesting note, I mean, I just wanted to kind of bring this around to something practical that we can think about, was in Brahma Samhita, it's described that when Lord Brahma heard Krishna's flute, that flute song entered his ears, all of his ear holes, and that was his initiation into the Gayatri mantra, actually. That's in Brahma Samhita 527. I'll read it just to back up my statements. But, I chant Gayatri 3 times a day, and I'm not always getting the same experiences as, I'm taking it cheaply, not paying attention, but this is like the most momentous thing ever. So this is 527 of the Brahma Samhita. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, being manifest, imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered into the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself, through his 8 ear holes. The lotus-born Brahma, having received the Gayatri, sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of the twice-born, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur goes on in the commentary to describe both the Gopal Gayatri and Kama Gayatri mantras as the specific Gayatri mantras that were imparted to Lord Brahma. And so for those of us who chant Gayatri, at least for myself, I'm really just thinking about it myself, that, man, I take those too cheaply, falling asleep or just rushing through it. But this is like the sound. This is actually the sound vibration of Krishna's flute, which is astounding and bewildering the greatest personalities in the universe. And here I get the opportunity to also chant it, and I take it cheaply. So that's the flute song, and then on Krishna's words and speech. Where do we hear the greatest? How do I say? The greatest, I don't know, I'm not thinking of the right word, but density, or where are Krishna's words? If someone asks you, I want to hear what Krishna said, what would you tell them? What book would you give them to? What section? Someone said, what did God say? I want to hear the words of God. What would you say? Chapter 9? Oh, chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, that's good. What about the whole Bhagavad Gita? The whole Bhagavad Gita also, yeah. Yeah, chapter 9, of course. That's very good. Very good chapter to go to. The most confidential knowledge, right? So that's good. But any of those words are Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita, the song of God, Gita. So even Krishna's words are so grandiose that they're actually a song. And so, again, we have this book, Bhagavad Gita, and especially in the Indian, people who are born from India, on book distribution. No, I'm not saying the devotees, but I'm saying, the Hindus and whatnot. You try to distribute a Bhagavad Gita to them, and they say, I know that, I've read that, or maybe they haven't even read it, but they know it somehow. And I'm Brahmin, and they don't even know anything about Bhagavad. They haven't read it, they don't know what's going on. But even if they did read it, and even if they did know what was going on, still, Bhagavad Gita is so significant that we cannot pass it up. And you see, those who know, they come and will still, like last Sunday, we had so much support for the distribution of Bhagavad Gita. We made the announcement, and so many people decided, yes, I will sponsor sets of Gitas, because they get it, that these are Krishna's words of momentous import and significant, grand significance. They're unfathomable. There's so much meaning and benefit by hearing Krishna's words. Everyone should hear them. So yeah, we should hear Krishna's words as much as possible, which means we should read Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada suggested that we read a chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day, actually. He said that if one reads a chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day, then one gets free from all their seva aparads. And that's a very good practice. Srila Prabhupada recommended. So that could be Sanskrit or the verses, English text, whatever. And also we should try to distribute this knowledge. We should try to repeat what Krishna said. Krishna said it better than us, so the best we can do is repeat what Krishna said. And also repeat what the pure devotees said. So what did Prabhupada say in his purports? What did he say about Krishna's words? We can also repeat that, and that is also of great, great significance. So same thing, fluent. We heard the Uddhava say about that, how Krishna's words, there's volumes of meaning. They can solve all the problems and troubles of the whole world, and they can even, please one's enemies. So that's a quality. Actually, all of Krishna's qualities, not all of them, actually 50 out of 64 are present in the jivas. That's 76% or 74%, 76, something like that. 78, I forget the percentage, but 50 by 64, so whatever that percentage is, the jivas can have to a minute quantity rather. Then 55 of them are possessed by Lord Shiva, 60 Lord Narayan. Krishna only has the 64. I know most of you all know this already. But so therefore fluent is a quality of the jivas also. Someone could have that quality of having profound speech. Of course it's very minute. But when one becomes a pure devotee and speaks what Krishna spoke, then one can actually manifest that quality. So Srila Prabhupada's words, the Acharya's words, we take those as good as Shastra. If Vishwanath Chakravarti said it, it's accepted in the circle of devotees. If Prabhupada said it, it's accepted. So similarly, those words also have volumes of meaning, and we are meant to meditate on them regularly. And so what a better gift to someone for the Christmas season than to give them a Bhagavad Gita as it is. It has Krishna's words, it has Prabhupada's words, it could save all the troubles of the world for them. It's the perfect thing to do with one's life, is to give the Bhagavad Gita and read it ourselves. I've read Bhagavad Gita 4 times, and I'm still studying it, and it's still amazing. It's still, every time we read it together and study, it's completely ecstatic. It's actually the only thing that brings me joy is reading Bhagavatam, reading Gita, discussing those things with devotees. Besides that, what else is there? And so, anyhow, I want to conclude on a final point here, third and final point. The first point was the sages are bewildered. They're not sure exactly what's going on. This is Krishna, but he's acting like an ordinary human being. They have to take a double take. And second point is about Krishna's unfathomable speech. And then the obvious point in today's verse, text 15, was that the sages concluded that, after they thought about it for some time and discussed amongst themselves, they said, okay, yes, this is Krishna, this is Supreme Lord, but he's doing this as to benefit people in general, for the enlightenment. He's trying to show how ordinary people can benefit by honoring brahmanas, by honoring great devotees and great sages, great personalities. These people are meant to be shown respect. Krishna's described, there's a prayer, Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Brahmanya Deva, he's the god of the brahmanas. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. He's the one who is always seeking the well-being, and he's seeking the benefit, the pleasure of the cows and the brahmanas. Jagaditaya Krishnaya, he's actually seeking the benefit of the whole universe. Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. And so Krishna says, actually in that third canto, Vishnu tells the Kumars that he's not so pleased by the offerings of grains into the sacrificial fire. He's not as pleased with that as he is with offerings of sumptuous food that's overflowing with ghee, to those offerings offered to the mouths of the brahmanas. That's what Vishnu says. And so what that means is that there's that endeavor to actually please devotees. Devotees are brahmanas. If you're a Vaishnava, you're a brahmana. And so anyhow, when we serve the devotees, when we serve the great souls of the saints, then Krishna is very, very pleased. So Krishna is trying to instruct everyone by his own personal example here, that this is what pleases me. Therefore, you should do it for your own benefit. And in this text, actually, of that third canto, the Kumaras end up speaking, and they say that they conclude the same thing that these sages are concluding. They say, "O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. Your considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also." So they conclude the same thing, that this is simply your setting an example. And then I'd like to just conclude with the verse that some people may already be thinking of from Bhagavad Gita. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tad eva tarojanaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. And let's read Prabhupada's purport. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if he himself smokes. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called acharya, or the ideal teacher. Therefore, a teacher must follow the principles of Shastra to teach the common man. The teacher cannot manufacture rules against the principles of revealed scriptures. The revealed scriptures like Manu Samhita and similar others are considered the standard books to be followed by human society. Thus, the leader's teaching should be based on the principles of such standard Shastras. One who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules, as they are practiced by the great teachers. The Srimad Bhagavatam also affirms that one should follow in the footsteps of great devotees, and that is the way of progress on the path of spiritual realization. The king or the executive head of a state, the father, and the school teacher are all considered to be natural teachers of the innocent people in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with standard books of moral and spiritual codes. So then Krishna in the very next verse says, I don't need to do anything. He's telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, I don't have any duties. I don't need to do anything. But I still act according to these principles because I'm trying to teach people in general. He's trying to say, Arjuna, you should do that too. And, fight this war. And in today's verse, we hear Jagad Gurum. And in the purport, it says, the personality of God is also the supreme teacher of spiritual surrender. So by Shukadeva Goswami is using Jagad Gurum in today's verse, he's saying that he's the guru, he's the teacher of the whole universe, Krishna. Therefore, he's acting in this way to instruct everyone. Everyone's looking towards Krishna. He's God. So obviously they're going to look towards him. If they're looking towards the father and the king and the brahmanas to act rightly, they're going who better to look towards than Krishna. So that's why he's described as Jagad Gurum here. And that's talked about in the purport. So I'll stop there. If there's, can we take some reflections or questions? Bhakta Matthew.
Hare Krishna. About the sending of Jay and Vijay to the material world for defending the four Kumaras, I was thinking about how Hiranyaksha, his words hurt Lord Varaha. And so I was kind of bringing that back to text 13 that you read today about holy places, like viewing them only as water is something that is inauspicious. So what I was wondering is that before approaching a spiritual master and asking them to take all of our sinful reactions, should we actually wash them off in the river first?
Well, we make vows at the time of initiation to follow 4 regulative principles and chant 16 rounds. And so if we do that, which in essence is stopping sinning by following those 4 prohibited activities, then in that sense, we basically all the Guru and Krishna asks us to do is stop. In the pastime with Jagai and Madai, Lord Chaitanya, he turned black because of all the sinful activities that Jagai and Madai had accrued from their lives. But then he basically blessed them with prema and just said, don't sin anymore. And I think Christ even said that. I think Jesus Christ said that in the Bible somewhere. So I don't know where they come with this thing that we can continue to sin and Jesus takes all the reaction. Yeah, it's kind of an offense. It is an offense. So if we did that to our spiritual master, like, hey, I can keep doing whatever I want because he's taking my karma. I mean, actually what ends up happening is that connection is severed. Prabhupada said that actually when sometimes people would sit in on initiations and Prabhupada would initiate them, but then like they'd be out the door the next day sometimes. And devotees would ask Prabhupada, he just took initiation, like, what's like, you're going to take his car? And Prabhupada said, yeah, actually there was never any initiation because the initiation is more of an internal thing. To the extent which we are actually committing to serving the spiritual master in a guileless way and following what we vow to do, then the spiritual master then he gives us that shelter. And otherwise, we get reciprocated accordingly. If we just take a spiritual master just for show, then it's not real. It's not real. So we can't think, yeah, I'm good. I got my spiritual name. I can do whatever I want. It's not the case. It's not true. You will experience karmic reactions, and they might even be more severe because you've committed offense against a pure devotee. Broken vows in front of the deities and sacred fire. Hope that helps. Hey, I had one last thing that I wanted to say, just about the unfathomability, because I was going to say it and I forgot, but then speaking about Lord Chaitanya, in the CC there's a few statements, but one of them I really like, in Anchalila, chapter 3, Krishnadas Kaviraj will sometimes glorify, all the time, is glorifying Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And he says that the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are deeper than millions and millions of oceans. He says that I can't understand it. Nobody can understand what the Lord intends to do or what he meant by what he did or said. And so I thought that was kind of cool, because if one actually thinks about that, deeper than millions and millions of oceans. One ocean's deep enough. One's ocean, because think about it, on the surface level it looks like something, the ocean. You go a little deeper, under the surface, totally something different's going on. You go deeper and deeper, something's different. Deeper, there's layers and layers. So think about that, deeper than millions and millions of oceans. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, therefore they're unfathomable. That's where that word comes from. Unfathomable. Nobody can actually reach the end of their glories. And so I just wanted to throw that in there. Patrick?
Whenever we're talking about the volumes of meaning that Krishna's words have, it's kind of like, it brought up in my mind how Shukadeva Goswami, while he's speaking the Bhagavatam, he's speaking on levels that everyone down from where we're at, all the way up to very exalted sages can understand and benefit from. So like Krishna is speaking in a way that everyone in existence can benefit from. It's like he's speaking to everyone at once. It's really...
Yeah, this is a good point that you're bringing up, actually. in the last verse of chapter 7 of the second canto, there's a verse about, I don't remember exactly it, but at least in the purport, I remember the essence of Prabhupada's purport. It was a page-long purport, and he wrote about how it's wrong to give up the hearing of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam because one thinks they're more advanced than these things. They've graduated beyond it. Because Lord Brahma is speaking, and he's glorifying the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Same thing, words of Krishna, Krishna's activities as being infinitely deep, and their meaning voluminous. And so Prabhupada writes that that they basically have there's different levels of understanding Krishna's activities in the Bhagavatam, and he says that a pure devotee relishes the Shrishti Leela. Shrishti Leela means the creation of the material universes, which we get right in the first canto there. How, Karna Dakashaya Vishnu, the universes, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu enters in, then Lord Brahma, and this, all these things, right? The material elements. He says that a pure devotee relishes that as much as they do the Rasa Leela. So that means that it's not a material thing. Hearing from the Bhagavatam, hearing from the transcendental literatures, hearing from Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita are not material sound vibrations. Depending on one's consciousness, one will be reciprocated accordingly within the heart or through the intelligence with the appropriate understanding to where one's at. And again, Vishwanath's commentary to the Bhagavad Gita, you see there's an element of rasa in there that one might not think is, it's just philosophy. But no, there's a whole element of rasa going on between Krishna and Arjuna that he kind of brings out for those who are able to relish that. And so, our goal is to relish. That's what the pure devotees are doing. That's what Lord Chaitanya was doing. He was hearing Bhagavatam daily from the lips of Gadadhar Pandit and others, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And so, it was good enough for Lord Chaitanya to hear the Bhagavatam, and he didn't skip the portions of saying, this is Vaikuntha, this is just Vishnu. I'm telling you, devotees have said that to me, that they don't read the Bhagavatam anymore because it's too much Vaikuntha bhav. They want the good stuff. And that is so sahajya, that is so, that's such an offense. And so Lord Chaitanya didn't do that, so it just means that their consciousness is not good enough, so they want to take something cheaper. Anyhow, that's thank you for bringing that point up, it's very important. Sarvabhauma Prabhu.
On that quality of speech being very deep or incomprehensible, I think sometimes the word gravity is used in English, and I think the word gambira, naturally there's one meaning of the place where Lord Chaitanya spent time in Puri, but the word gambira also, I believe, means gravity or deep internal significance.
Yeah, so we do, that's what I'm thinking from what you just said is that even though our consciousness is not qualified, still when we hear these revealed scriptures from the mouths of these very, very advanced devotees, they're actually revealing those deep imports. Like we get to hear about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes at the Gambira, and we get to hear about the different moods of exalted devotional service that are experienced by the Nitya Siddha devotees in the spiritual world. So, by no means can I even approach that by myself, and I can barely understand what I'm reading or hearing, but it's there. We actually have a sneak peek into it, and so that's just what I thought of when you said that actually, that is the deepest portion, in one sense, of the meaning is, the relationship between Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, the Lord and his internal potency. And so, anyways, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we got everything there. So we just have to qualify ourselves so that we can actually, delve into it more deeply in our understanding. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Words of Sri Krishna ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.